Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I am here in Ponytown to talk about gardening. Yes, that's right, gardening. Of all the things in Ponytown that I could talk about or make a video on, I'm gonna make a video on gardening and gardening tips. I'm gonna take you guys from your noob looking gardens, which are just pumpkins in a row or berries in a row or rose bushes in a row, to professional looking gardens. I'm going to teach you guys how you can do it, as well as show you some examples of different garden builds that look much better than, well, just rows of whatever. So this is what you guys typically do. This is what most people typically do. I'm not going to say you specifically. Yes, that's right, I'm talking to you specifically. No, I'm not talking to you specifically, but most people, whenever I visit islands and they have a garden or something similar to that, like a farm or something like that, it's usually just this. It's a row of pumpkins on dirt, or a row of berries on dirt, and a row of bushes on a dirt, or they have plants in front of their house that is just a bunch of bushes lined up in front of their wall with a window there and stuff like that. And that is kind of the full extent of it. Maybe sometimes they will have like a fence or something like that, and the rose bushes or something like that will be held up on the fence or something like that, and maybe they'll make other shapes and stuff. But my first tip there for you is indeed to just put a fence there, readjust it so that they're like actually on the fence, and experiment with some other shapes. Try to do like like this shape, like a Z shape or a zigzag shape or something like that. And of course you can put fences on that as well and kind of have fun with that. And that's going to look way better immediately than just, well, this right here. It's going to look way better than just this. And you can't tell me otherwise. But you're here for the professional level tips. So what I have here is some examples. If I readjust my camera here, you can see an example of a flower bed. This is like a flower bed. This is meant to be mulch, essentially. You can kind of get that vibe from it. And of course, we have a little sandbox. And you can leave this sandbox alone just like this and never touch it again. And it can be just like a little thing like, oh, it's like a kiddie sandbox kind of thing where kids go in and they play or whatever. And you can put a sandcastle in there or decorate it that way. It's a nice little, very simple sandbox, essentially. Now, you can, of course, surround this in wood to kind of add that effect a little bit more, but this is fine by itself. Now, what I've done with this is I've taken this little example here and I put a tree in the very middle, tree right dead center in the middle. So let's grab ourselves a tree. We'll put it right dead center in the middle. And then I grabbed some bushes, just some typical little bushes. I grabbed that by accident. Let me readjust that. I just grabbed some bushes and I just put them in all four corners, just like this. And then I grabbed some water rocks. That's right, these are water rocks. I recommend using the water rocks because they have more variety, as well as different shapes and stuff like that, so it'll look a little bit more realistic and stuff. So you just surround that just like this. This will eat away at your object limit just a little bit, not too much, but there are ways around it because, of course, this looked just fine with just a tree in the middle and some bushes and stuff like that. So this is a nice little way you can go about that. And of course, if I go back enough, as you saw before, you just put a tiny little tree or a big tree or whatever in the middle, and then boom, that is honestly just good enough because that looks really good by itself as well. Especially if we were to, replace this with grass and stuff again. I think it looks fine. I think it looks great, in fact. And of course, you can put other things inside there, like maybe you want to put a rock in there, maybe you want to throw this rose bush in there, or this other rose bush in there, and maybe you want to leave just those rose bushes in there and get rid of the tree and the rock, and then boom. My point is, this little sandbox thing, this little sandbox box shape for your gardens and stuff like that is actually a very simple shape that has a lot of potential. Like, literally, you can probably put any combinations of plants right here in this little square and it will look good. Maybe make sure it has variety and stuff, but you get my point. Like, you can put almost anything in this square and it's gonna look good if it's a plant. So that is kind of the point here. And I chose to use the sand for this and dirt for this because the sand here is more diverse, because you can leave it completely alone and put nothing in there and it will still look good. But over here, this is going to be your flower bed. Everyone has these. Well, not everyone has these, but some people have these in front of their homes and stuff like that. They have a little flower bed right in front of their porch, or maybe right on their back porch, or maybe on the side of their house or something like that. They have something like this. A lot of people do. And it's a simple little thing. This looks more like a raised garden or a raised flower bed if you ask me, but I think it looks nice. It's a very simple thing. All you have to do is get yourself the outdoor category and scroll right here to the bench seats and line them up. Don't worry about these being perfect because you're not going to get them perfect. There's almost no way to get them absolutely perfect. It's hard to get them perfect because the bench seats are just too long, so it's hard to get them perfectly, you know, lined up and stuff. But this right here, I think is fine with a little bit sticking off the edge and stuff. But just do a simple thing like this. This is 2 bits of dirt, and then over however long you want to. You can, of course, do the same thing with a single length of dirt, but if you do this, it's going to look a little bit weird because, like, you know, let's line this up. I'm not going to line this up very well, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. You can see how, if I do this, you have this weird thing. That doesn't look too bad, but it is a little bit weird, and of course having it thinner is of course going to limit yourself, but it still works. However you want to do it, you can do a thin single one like that, you can do a double one like this, however you want. But the steps to do this is to set this up, circle that around it in those bench seats, and then fill it with leaves. Now, what I recommend doing for this step, of course, is to go to the nature tab and go to the double leaves and spam double leaves inside of it as much as you can, because using this as mulch is going to eat away at your object limit, like, insanely. So this is something that, you know, if you're going to do, you're not going to be able to do too much, or you're going to have to kind of limit yourself on how many of these you use, as well as you might have to limit yourself on what else you do on your island because of how many objects this is going to eat away at your limit and stuff. So just put these around. It usually doesn't stick over top of the wood, but if it does for whatever reason, like this one kind of is a little bit, then I don't think that really looks that bad if you ask me. But if you want to fill this out even more, you can of course use the single leaves and kind of scatter them about and stuff like that, and get yourself a nice little thing going on. But this is of course supposed to be your mulch, but now we need the plants. So of course, if we go here and maybe we want to put some bushes in here, bushes will look good in here. It's very similar to this little sandbox thing that we did earlier. It's very diverse. You can put almost any kind of plant in here and it's going to look pretty good because it's going to look like it's actually planted in a flower bed. You can put these things like this. You can even put stumps. I mean, you can even put like little bushes in the corners or near the edges, or however you want to do it. And of course you can put flowers. So if we go to the flowers tab, we can of course put some tulips in here, and I think it'll look nice and stuff like that. Any kind of little flower you can think of. Some daffodils will look good in here, and just kind of play around with it. Even put some little water rocks and stuff in there, and I'll actually show you guys an example of what one of these kind of finished would look like. But here is a finished version of what I was just showing off, the little flower bed thing. This is actually the first time that I ever actually did it. This was my first attempt of actually doing this, and then this is kind of how I figured out the whole tip of like, hey, you know, this looks like a flower bed. But as you can see, it looks really good if you ask me. That's my own personal opinion, but maybe you share the same opinion. But I think this looks really nice. You have all these different rose bushes in here. You have some berries hidden away in there, and all kinds of different flowers and stuff scattered about. And of course you have some rocks and all this other stuff. And this actually extended over too much, so I hit it with this little thing here. So this extended over too much, and in such a way that I didn't personally like. So I just put a leaf pile over it. You could obviously put a bush there if you want to, or you could hide it with like a tree or something like that. So if this wasn't here, I could just put this tree about right in that general area, and it kind of covers it up a little bit and hides it, and you can't really see what it's covering up. But you can see how a finished version of that flower bed looks actually really lovely. On the next step of garden tips, we have, of course, pumpkins. Now, like we said before, like we showed before, a lot of people just line up their pumpkins side by side, and that looks fine. That's okay, you can get away with that. But if you want your pumpkins to look really good, you'll do this. You'll scatter them not perfectly straight with each other, and you'll use these flowers. It's in the flowers tab, but if you go to flowers and then scroll over a little bit, you'll see like the dandelion 1 or dandelion 2, or dandelion weeds and dandelion weeds 2. These are the ones that I used to like add these little green around here. I even experimented a little bit and used this little tree sapling on top of that to see if that would look good. And I don't actually know if that looks good or not, but it is what it is, and it's something to kind of play around around with. But as you can see, this looks way, 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 way better as a pumpkin patch than the rows of pumpkins that we had before. And I mean, if you ask me, this is what you should be doing with your pumpkins, not the other thing. And of course, we have bushes. Now this one right here is actually extremely experimental. I don't think I really like it that much, if I'm being honest. But I kind of was trying to play around with like flowers on top of bushes and stuff, and I was like, you can kind of get away with this. It looks kind of okay, but the more I look at it, the more it looks really goofy. But you can of course hide little house plants behind regular bushes or small bushes and get these really nice looking plants and stuff. Like, there's no outdoor variant of these house plants, which we should get outdoor variants of these. Like, honestly, I like the potted ones. The potted ones are nice, but we should get outdoor variants so that this would look better. But for now, if you surround these things in bushes or hide them in bushes and stuff, you can get really nice looking plants and stuff, especially with these I don't actually know what these are called. They literally have no name whatsoever. It's just a generic potted flower. The potted flowers, if you get these and kind of line them up like this, back and forth like this, you can get really interesting shapes and stuff. And then of course you can hide it behind some bushes like this, and maybe another small bush like right here or something. And hide it behind there, and it looks really nice. It looks way better than it would have if it was just kind of sitting there in front of your house. So these are the tips that I have here for you guys. If you have any tips yourself that you want to share or anything like that, let me know in the comments below and stuff like that. One more thing that I did forget to mention is if you do two little beds like this, like two flower beds like this, it does look really nice in my personal opinion to put a little stream in the middle and then maybe some log slices or something in between there. I think that looks fine myself, but that's my own personal opinion again, of course. But that does it for the tips. That is all I have here for you today. Let me know if you want more general building tips like this that focus heavily on one specific theme and stuff, and I'll try to get to it. So yeah, let me know all that stuff, and of course feel free to like, subscribe, share, and do all those wonderful things like that, because when you do those wonderful things, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become one of yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful. I'm gonna hide behind this wall now. Goodbye.